Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori, and today I'm going to deviate just a little bit from my normal fantasy book content because this is something that I am very passionate about and I need to talk about it, so we're doing it. Many of you probably don't know that I am actually a big anime fan. I've watched anime since I was in high school and I love it. One of my all-time favorite series was Rurouni Kenshin, and I need to talk about the show versus the movie because, okay, so many things. So when I was in high school, I watched Rurouni Kenshin, which is an anime that's like 90 some episodes long, and it's following the story of a late 1800s, early 1900s, I believe, Japanese samurai. He was an assassin in the last war, and now he is trying to leave his past behind and just become kind of a wandering samurai that protects people instead of kills them. Kenshin is a very beloved anime character, and he was definitely near and dear to my heart, as were many of the other characters in Rurouni Kenshin. Now, I was not aware of the fact until the last about year or so that they actually made a live action version of the show, and they did like 3 or 4 movies. So let's be real. All of us know that when you take something that's a cartoon or an anime and you turn it into a live action movie, it's really Russian roulette as far as if it's gonna be any good or not. Most of the time, I would argue it errs on the side of not being so good. When I first heard that Kenshin was a live action film, I was like, no. Absolutely not. I dragged my husband into the Kenshin fandom earlier this year and we watched the entire thing. It's probably the 3rd time I've watched through all of the episodes, and I had forgotten exactly how much exposition is in Kenshin. Like, they describe everything. The fight scenes drag out so bad. They describe every style of swordsmanship, every weapon, every movement. And it's usually the spectators of the fight scene that are talking while the two like kind of just stare at each other very seriously and wait. I still love the characters, but man, that exposition. Whew! So we watched Kenshin Origins, which is the first, I think the first of 4 movies, the live action movies done. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And here's the thing, as such a diehard fan of the anime series, in most ways, I actually liked the movie better. Here's why. Couple of things. The first thing that I want to talk about the movie that I absolutely loved is how true they were to the characters. I was so impressed. They really, down to the outfits, I mean, everything was so close to the anime that I was so excited to see how much care they took. I mean, all the way down, not just the main characters, but all the way down to, you know, the police chief who has these really giant, he's a little bit older, he has a certain face type, and he's got these giant, like, circular glasses. That's exactly what he looked like in the live action movie. And they did such a good job of staying true to the characters, but it didn't feel like it was too ridiculous. They did a great job of pulling in some of those comedic elements and the quirks of all of the different characters without making it cartoonish. And man, was that like, they pulled that off really, really well. Most diehard Kenshin fans will already know this, but there is a prequel set of 4 episodes called Trust and Betrayal. It's him as a young assassin, and it is dark, it is gritty. Guys, the feels in that anime, it's only 4 episodes long, it's really hard to find it, but oh man, like, that is a absolute masterpiece. What I loved about the movie is they actually took bits and pieces of Kenshin's past story in Trust and Betrayal and they pulled it into the movie. They had certain flashbacks where Kenshin would remember things that were straight out of Trust and Betrayal. And one of my favorite characters in the Kenshin universe is Tomoe, who is a woman that Kenshin knows in Trust and Betrayal. They got her perfectly in the live action movie. I was so excited. I was like, oh, it's her! The characters in Kenshin are so solid, and that's why I'm talking about it on my channel, because as we all know, characters are my jam, so we're gonna talk about Kenshin. Staying true to the characters was one of the #1 things that I appreciated about the movie. Now, taking that aside, it was just a really good movie. The action sequences were awesome. They were so well done. And that's something that really, like, obviously they're gonna take some liberties because it's based off of an anime. Each character had a very different fighting style. The action sequences were just, they just drew you right in. And the thing that I loved about it, and I think why I like the movie now better than I like the anime as far as the story goes, is they cut out all of the exposition. So you take out all of the worst parts of the anime and put them aside, and you're left with plot, action scenes, and characters. Now I realize that not everybody who's a fan of the anime will like the movie as well, because, you know, there are some differences. They're very small, honestly, and I was not offended in the least, because I also recognize that these are two completely different mediums. I mean, there are some differences. There's a couple of characters that really, other than one or two things, are very close to the original anime characters, but they do take a couple of liberties with, like, Hanya, if you know who he is, with the mask. There was some differences, but I was really impressed with for how much material they had to take out of the anime and condense into the movie. I thought they did an amazing job keeping all of the really, really important characters and the really, really important moments. The actor who played Kenshin, I don't know his name, I'll put it here somewhere, or his face, here's his face. The thing that makes Kenshin such a powerful, amazing, endearing character is his duality. He can go from hardened killer to adorable, like, street urchin in 5 seconds flat, is what makes him so endearing, and that he can embody both of those things so well. Really, like, kudos to the guy who played Kenshin, because I was impressed. Let's talk about Saito. Saito is kind of a sort of half nemesis, half ally of Kenshin's, and he's a police officer, and so sometimes they work together. Saito, I think, he didn't look the way I would have imagined him to look. However, he really did embody, like, the physicality of Saito really, really well. The way he carried himself, the way he fought, all of that, he did a fantastic job. So at the end of the day, like, I wasn't mad at it. Let's talk about Kaoru. This was one of the biggest improvements in my mind, because to be perfectly honest, in the anime, I can't stand Kaoru. Like, I know she tries to be a tough girl, but, like, nyeh, nyeh, nyeh. Now, the thing that I loved about this is it took Kaoru from being this, like, kind of painted porcelain doll in the anime, which I get is part of the style, but it made her into a real human being. She just looks like an average person in the movie, but she had that kind of fire that I think makes Kaoru who Kaoru is, and she did an amazing job, and I actually hands down preferred her in the live action movie than I do in the anime. Megumi. Megumi is a doctor who Kenshin meets because she's wrapped up in some bad stuff. She's making opium for the wrong people, and she's trying to get out of her life. She doesn't want to do this because it's hurting people. She ends up getting tied in with Kenshin and the crew and kind of leaving her life of crime and finding a new home. I felt like Megumi was really stiff in the anime, and they kind of tried to make her out as being a little bit of a flirt, which never really came across that much in the anime, and I thought she did a great job in the movie being a little bit more like, I can see why Kaoru would be irritated by Megumi because she's actually flirting with Kenshin and all this stuff, but they also didn't insta-love Kaoru and Kenshin, which I really liked, because that's pretty true to the anime. I don't feel like they were immediately, you know, attracted to each other. I think they were just friends for a long time. It's kind of a slow burn, which, thank you. Yahiko is a little boy who is an orphan, and he stays with Kaoru, and he's her student in her swordsmanship style. And Yahiko, kudos to this kid, man. Like, Yahiko's a tough character to play. He is mostly a brat, but he has a great heart, and he is just loud and obnoxious most of the time. And I thought that they did a really good job translating his character into the movie. I really enjoyed him. He didn't have a ton of lines, but I felt like whenever he was in the scene, they did a really good job with him. Okay, let's talk about my boy Sano. I love Sano in the anime. He's my favorite character. I love him so much. And he's just a big brute, and he's a brawler, and he's constantly running his mouth, and he honestly needs to take a chill pill most days, but this was the one I was most worried about. The actor that they chose to play Sano did a great job. I really do think so. He wasn't like perfect for Sano in my mind. His personality felt a little bit too put on or forced. In the second half of the movie, that's where I felt like I really settled into how he was portraying Sano, and he did a great job. The villains, they did a great job. You have Janae, you have Hanya. A quick edit is that in the movie, they actually kind of merge Hanya with a character named Gain, who's not in the anime, but I believe he's in the manga. You have Kanryu, like all of these villains in the story I thought were portrayed really, really well. Kanryu was like, blah, which he's supposed to be. He's a total sleazeball. And in the anime, I actually didn't get as much sleazeball factor from him as I did in the live action movie. I just wanted to talk about this because this anime is so near and dear to my heart, and Trust and Betrayal, which is the prequel, again, like that is my favorite anime of all time. Oh, it's incredible. I wanted to talk about this because I don't know, like, all of you guys in my comments, I don't know what you guys are into, and I really want to take this channel in a direction where I can talk about characters in a lot of different mediums, because really for me it comes down to the story and the characters, which isn't just limited to books. So obviously books are going to be my main topic, but I also want to be able to chat about movies and anime because there's some incredibly beautiful characters that I just feel like I need to talk about. That was kind of my overall opinion. I am super excited to watch the next 3 movies of Kenshin. If you haven't already seen the movies, honestly, if you know nothing about the anime at all and you don't really feel like watching anime, I still recommend watching the movies. I still think they're very enjoyable. They're super fast-paced, tons of action and like cool, still beautifully done characters that are very true to the anime. So if you want to skip the anime altogether and watch the movies, go for it. If anime is not your thing, I still think you would enjoy the movies. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've seen Kenshin or have any comments about this, please go ahead and put them down in the description below. Yeah, I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I'll see you in the next video.